In the last two videos, I showed you my initial explorations of the license plate data set and the very first things I looked at when I got the data. And in this video, I thought I'd show you some of the additional exploration that I started doing after that point. So let's continue. I was intrigued enough by what I'd found out about the mayor and the fire chief that now I was curious to look at other cars that were seen in the data set. And I realized I was doing the same thing over and over again. So anytime I write the same code over and over again, I really ought to define a function to do that for me so I don't copy paste and retype the same code. So I defined a function to, given a license plate, map all the sightings of the license plate in this nice color-coded way we built up by now. And I decided I was going to start looking at all sorts of different license plates and seeing what I could learn and what inferences could be drawn. And, you know, it's kind of intriguing, kind of interesting stuff. So I picked another license plate that was seen many times in the data set. This time I don't know who it is, but that's okay. We can still take a look and see what we can learn about this person from the observations here. Well, here we can see lots of times where this license plate was seen. It was seen many, many times, scattered all over the place, all over Oakland. All these different locations. And if you remember our color coding, you might notice there's a lot of them that are red down here, and what the red represents is evenings. So let's take a look at this cluster down here. Maybe you can't quite tell because a lot of them are overlapping each other, but as I start to zoom in, you may be able to see a little better what's going on here. That there's actually a lot of times that this car was seen in this very narrow location, and you can see what times it was seen. There was at 1:39 a.m., 11:05 p.m., 10:36 p.m. Here were some weekend times in there, all in the same almost a block. All right, so what can we infer from that? I don't know, but I think it's a pretty good guess that probably they live somewhere right around here, somewhere on this block, and they're probably parking their car and they don't find the exact same location for street parking, but it's a good bet that they park here every night. All right, so that was one interesting thing I think we can learn from this. We learned where they live down to about a block pretty well, pretty accurately. What about these other locations? Well, it's fun to speculate about what these might be. We can see this all over Oakland at all sorts of different times in the weekdays, in the evenings, on the weekends, all over Oakland, scattered all around, no apparent pattern. What does that represent? I have no idea. Kind of fun to speculate. Are they a taxi driver? Do they drive for Uber? Are they a delivery person? I don't know. Do they do plumbing and they're out doing plumbing at all their clients' houses? I don't know. Data must be telling some story, but I don't know what story it's telling us. Anyway, that showed something interesting, so I thought I would start to take a look at another person. So I found another license plate that was in this data set. Let's take a look. All right, here's another one. You can practice your inference skills. What can you infer from this data? Well, by now we know the story. We know that actually probably from this data, you can often guess where someone lives by looking at where the car is parked in the evenings and weekends. So let's see if we can figure out first where this person probably lives. Well, there's kind of two clusters. There's a really big cluster down here where the car's been seen a lot. So let's take a closer look at that. Look down at these observations and lots of evening observations here in this. Around midnight, you can see different observations in here. 3 a.m. in the morning, 11:52. Yeah, a lot of observations around here. Some weekends, some weekdays. Okay, so I think that what we figured out here is probably a pretty good chance that this person, whoever they are, lives somewhere around here at the intersection of International Boulevard and what is that? 16th Avenue. Okay. So we probably figured out their address to within a block or so. What else can we infer? Well, I got interested. I noticed some other locations kind of scattered around, but here's another cluster of points where this car was seen many times. And if we take a look, Well, if you're not an Oakland resident, maybe you wouldn't know what this is, but I happen to live near here, so I can tell you where this is this is near Laney College. And over here are the fields, the athletic fields. And then right on, I happen to know that right on the other side of the street, there's a bunch of dorms and residential housing where students at Laney College tend to live. So I started to take a look at these data points. 12:08 on a weekend, 7 a.m. in the morning, 7 in the morning, 12:21 a.m., 3:51 a.m., 1:44 a.m., all around in the same location. What would cause their car to be seen so often in the middle of the night, weekdays and weekends? Am I seeing boyfriend, girlfriend? Are they visiting someone? Are they staying overnight with their partner here who sounds like maybe a Laney College student? And at this point, this was the point in my exploration when I started to feel creeped out. Like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? I'm learning sensitive stuff about this person's personal life, about where they spend their evenings and where they live, and maybe even something about who they're dating or where they live. And I started to feel like I'd gone too far. So I wanted you to have this experience too, so that you could see just how much information can potentially be revealed by data sets. Maybe sometimes even more than we might anticipate initially. And more than people might recognize or might feel comfortable with. So I hope this is a little bit of a lesson for you in your future as data scientists. You may be dealing with large data sets, data about people. As you do that, I want you to think about how to be a responsible steward, how to take into account that this data is not just numbers in a computer, but it represents facts about people's lives, that there's people on the other end of this data, and that we should be respectful of them as human beings and their dignity. And think about what implications our work might have, and think about how to be good stewards of the data so that we're not violating people's privacy, we're not putting them in uncomfortable situations, and we're not doing things that would make them feel creeped out or shocked. So I don't have any answers for you, but I hope that I've got you thinking about how to be responsible data scientists in your future career.